Welcome to What We're Enjoying Wednesday, part of Elmhurst Public Library at Home, the library's online program series. Each week, our staff will be bringing you videos, talking about what they are reading, watching, listening to, playing, or otherwise enjoying. This week, we're trying something a little bit different, and we're only going to feature own voices authors, particularly those who identify as Black or Indigenous people of color. I have a few to share with you today. The first one is Akata Witch by Nnedi Okorafor. Nnedi is a Nigerian American, and so is the main character, Sunny. She is a young albino girl living in Nigeria who discovers that she has magical powers. And as she starts learning spells, she uncovers a secret magical universe. Think of it as Harry Potter in Africa. Fantastic world building. I really love the whole system for learning spells and gaining magical currency. I think it's a great book for anyone who loves Harry Potter or A Wrinkle in Time. The next is a YA book, but I recommend it to adults as well. It's The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. The Hate You Give, or Thug, was very well known when it first came out and has been popular ever since. If you have not yet read this book, I highly recommend it to help you understand the protests and riots of what is going on right now with the Black Lives Matter movement. The book focuses on Star. It's essentially a novelization of the Black Lives Matter movement starting in Ferguson. The reason I keep recommending it, even though it is so well known, is many people, especially adults, have said that this book helped them understand what was happening in the world and how to better support their communities. The last one is I'm Judging You by Lovey Ajayi. She is another Nigerian American. She actually lives in Chicago. She's from Nigeria. This is a collection of humorous essays just on life and social media. Lovey is a hilarious author. She's a fun Twitter personality. This is great for a laugh, which I think all of us can use right now. I think it's particularly great because we get to see Lovey's point of view as a Nigerian woman who grew up outside of the United States but currently lives in Chicago, experiencing the same things we are.
From the 2021 Rebecca Caudle list, I recently enjoyed The Parker Inheritance by Varian Johnson. This is a great chapter book to read with your kids, grades 3 and up, or for grades 4 and up to read on their own. When Candace discovers the letter in her grandmother's attic in Lambert, South Carolina, she thinks that she shouldn't read it. Then she realizes that the letter was left for her. The letter describes a young woman whose family experienced a great injustice decades ago, a mystery, and a fortune that will be left to the first person who can solve the puzzle. Candace's grandmother is recently deceased, so she enlists the help of fellow bookworm Brandon from across the street to solve the mystery of the Parker inheritance. As the kids decipher the clues, they delve deeper into the ugly history of Lambert, and they uncover a love story that stands the test of time. This book is available as an ebook in both Cloud Library and Overdrive, and as an audio ebook in Hoopla.
For my recommendations this week, I'd like to share 2 great stories by American authors of color. The first one is called Homegoing by Ya Jesse. This one is going to be shared by some other staff members, so I would just like to say that it is a beautiful, epic page-turner of a novel, and you should definitely read it. The second one I'd like to share is called There There. It is by Native American author Tommy Orange. This is the cover. It is told from the perspectives of a large cast of characters whose narratives unfold around a central event, a powwow taking place in modern-day Oakland, California. The author says that he wrote the novel from multiple perspectives to address how little has been written about the lives of urban Native Americans who account for the majority of Indigenous people living in the United States. For Native people, he writes, cities and towns themselves represent the absence of a homeland, a lost world of buried ancestral land, glass and concrete and wire and steel, unreturnable, covered memory. There is no there there. Please check it out.
Hi. I'm taking this time today to reread through this title that I've held on to since I was taking classes at my community college. This title today is The Struggle for Black Equality. This title resonated with me back when I took the class in college, and it still resonates today, which is a hard reality to admit. A movie that I've enjoyed is Into the Spider-Verse. It is a great animated feature available on Netflix if you're a subscriber to that. Peter Ramsey won an Academy Award for it in 2019 for Best Animated Feature. If you haven't seen it, I really recommend that you give that a shot. It is a great movie.
Hi, I'd like to share with you this book from the Kids Library, One Last Word by Nikki Grimes. This is one of the most amazing poetry books I've seen. It's a masterwork of accessible poetry for grade schoolers and up, and for families to share as well. Using the poetry of the Harlem Renaissance as a launch pad, Nikki Grimes has created poems with current themes of the hopes, fears, realities, and dreams of African American life. The poetic form used in the book is called the Golden Shovel, and it takes verses from Harlem Renaissance poets and puts them in as the last word of each line of Grimes's own original poetry. As Grimes says in the book, the poet is bound by the words of the original poem, but the possibilities for creating something new are exciting. Poems of master poets like Langston Hughes, Clara Ann Thompson, Countee Cullen, and more are printed in full and then used as the beginnings of Grimes' modern creations that sing with clarity and truth. It's also illustrated by some of today's most noted African American illustrators.
Hi everyone, just wanted to share a book with you that I have read recently. It's Homegoing by Ya Jessie. It's a story of two sisters on two different paths. It starts in 18th century Ghana during the slave trade. One sister is married to an Englishman and lives on Cape Coast during the Gold Coast booming slave trade. The other sister, unbeknownst to her, is actually traded in the slave trade to America. The ensuing story jumps from one sister's descendant storyline to the other, and you hear about the warfare in Ghana, but also the Civil War in America and how all of the trauma has affected both generations through the years. I really encourage you to check it out. Again, it's Homegoing by Ya Jessie.
Hello. Some of the books I've been enjoying recently include the novel Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who is a Nigerian author. Her book focuses around the love story of two Nigerian teenagers, Efemelu and Obinze. Efemelu is a young lady who immigrates to the United States to attend college, and for the first time has to understand what it means to be black. Her love interest, Obinze, is denied entry into the United States and becomes an undocumented citizen in London. So the book focuses around their formative years apart and if they're ever able to reunite. The book itself is actually being adapted into a miniseries by HBO and should release sometime later this year, and it's going to star Lupita Nyong'o. Some nonfiction books that I've been enjoying during this time include White Fragility, Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism by Robin DiAngelo. Robin DiAngelo is a diversity and inclusion training facilitator, and she uses her experience to talk about racism as a practice that is not restricted to bad people. Another interesting nonfiction book that I have been reading is We Want to Do More Than Survive by Bettina Love. This book focuses on educational reform and educational freedom, and during this book, Dr. Love argues that educators should be teaching students about racial violence and racial oppression and ways that we can sustainably change our communities. I hope you enjoy these books.